two interesting topics, which is continuation of AI and apps in psychiatry. I would like to invite the first speaker, Dr.Iniyan.S. He is an academician, clinician, and researcher with more than 12 years of experience in the field of psychiatry. He currently is a professor at the Department of Psychiatry at Saveetha Medical College and consultant psychiatrist at the Mind Health Clinic at Chennai. He has completed his MBBS from Kanyakumari Medical College and his MD Psychiatry from Stanley Medical College at Chennai. He is an expert at technology-based innovations, innovative teaching, learning methodology, and research methodology. He has more than 30 publications in reputed journals. His areas of interests include integration of artificial intelligence in healthcare and in undergraduate and postgraduate academic training. He has also built multiple free applications for mental health, academics, and research. He has completed online courses on leading for innovation in healthcare with the Warwick Business School in England, innovating in healthcare at the Harvard University, and prompt engineering for educators run by the Vanderbilt University, United States, and AI for
Hi.
healthcare by
What is the
National Board of Examination.
16 plus tax?
I would like to hand over the stage to Dr. Iniyan.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll just share my screen. So, welcome all to today's. So this session will be somewhat to say like a crash course on basics of research, and how best you can do research with the help of AI. So it is assuming that yes, if you have a research question or even a clinical hunch, how do I take the clinical hunch and proceed it to through the steps and publish a paper? And definitely, it's not like using AI just to make a paper, like replacing us completely with AI. That is not the theme. It is like how AI can assist you in definitive steps and also reduce the time significantly if we are doing manual with compared to AI. And so before moving on to this, the presentation initially I'll give you a short introduction about the types of research and the various steps of research, and that will be very short. And after that, basically the session will be based on an app that I have created, and I will share the link. It will be good if others can also click on the link and see because you can follow easily, but otherwise also it's okay. So this app will have the different studies, and each study, if you click, there will be different stages, 12 phases of research from the research question towards the final publication. And at each step, it was actually created initially as a standalone app for just research, but now with the advent of AI and everything, I've added a layer to the whole app. So every phase there will be a research area, the AI area, where it will say how AI can help you, like how what prompts to use, and every step will go through that. So first, I'll just give a very short brief on this. So this will be about the, like, we have a research question and what type of research should I do? Is it, what type of study? Is it a cross-sectional cohort, a case control, all that? And then the 12 steps that I mentioned. So basically, research, you can divide it into four types of four families. Okay, so if you are doing an intervention, that you are purposely doing any intervention, like you are introducing one drug, comparing it to the placebo, or you are comparing two drugs, it is an intervention on your part. It's not an observation. So it is an interventional study, and there are two types of interventional studies. One is randomized controlled trial, and the second one is something called quasi-experimental, where we cannot divide the people into, we cannot randomize. Something like we are adding a new protocol to an ICU or new protocol in, say, de-escalation of a patient. We cannot randomize because it is already introduced. So in that situation, it's called quasi-experimental. So both are interventional studies. You are doing something. And then there are observational studies. Observational studies are just observing what happens. There is no intervention. But here it can be descriptive as well as analytical. So most of the studies have an analytical. We do analyze in observational studies. It can be cohort. Cohort is starting from here and proceeding towards the future. Case control starting now and looking back into the past. And cross sectional is like a screenshot in time. At the moment we are doing, we can get all the data from the past and everything, and then formulate our hypothesis and do the analysis. And there are some studies which are just descriptive. We are just describing, there is not much of analysis. So here it is diagnostic accuracy, basically case report and case series. But some case series do have some amount of analysis. If you want, you can, like you are reporting like 15 ECT, something like that. You can do an analysis, but basically the theme is it is a descriptive. And finally, there are specialized studies which are more, basically one is qualitative study. Qualitative study is like you capture the experiences rather than quantify the data. So there is no structure towards it, but it usually it is the first step towards the research. Usually you start with the qualitative analysis. And there is something called scoping review, which is like systematic review and meta-analysis or separate topics which are slightly, it requires a higher research knowledge. It has more steps and slightly more difficult for a beginner. So in such a situation, there's something called scoping review, which we can attempt to do. All this we'll see. So in this app that I mentioned, you will be like, I'll take you through the steps of research. So one, from starting from what is a research question, and how do we formulate one into that can be having an objective and aim, and which is just from a clinical hunch, what is a research question. And finally the other steps, the literature review, getting an ethical committee approval, then the study design, what type of a study that we were discussing. So, is it a cross sectional? And if so, what are the variables? What are the definition? What is sampling and what is sample size? Then data collection. How do I collect the data and how do I manage the data? Where do I store the data that I've collected? Which are the tools? And finally, how do I analyze and publish it? So this will be the steps. And so you don't have to memorize anything. Everything is, this app is free, so you can just go through, and every step you will have a companion which will help you. So the link will be. I think I can share it. Yeah. So Dr.Iniyan.com's research, or both, I have hosted in two areas, or Doctor, if that is not working in any case, Dr.Iniyan.com/research AI. So both will be open to use. Like you can open now and check, and it will be you can use it. So I will just go through this. So this is the app. I'm just opening it, and I hope you are all able to see, right? So is there any difficulty? The screen is
No, we
visible,
are not
right?
seeing. We are not seeing your screen.
Okay, okay. 1 minute, sir. I'll have to change the mode of sharing it. Is it visible now, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So
No, actually, there's a PPT. Okay.
yeah, I'll close it. I'll close it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the actual app, I think. So the app has this, yeah, you go to home here, and this will be the, I'll just come back to this first point. So basically, this is what I told about the different studies, RCT, cohort, case control, cross-sectional, quasi-experimental, diagnostic accuracy, case series, case report, all this, everything. If for example, if you click one step or into one, you will have all the steps into going through the 12 steps you will be going through. So I will take a cross-sectional study, which is quite easier from a OP standpoint. From you can do, it's quite difficult to do an RCT unless you have a structure for just having a clinical hunch and trying to get a paper out of it. Cross-sectional is easier. So first step, so this will be the first, so you can just follow what step you are on. Here it shows that you are in the first step, and this, if you click here, it shows that you are in the second step. That means you have already completed the first step. So now you are in the first step. So what is a research question? So research question is the, like, it is the question for which you are trying to find an answer. It is from a clinical hunch. See, I've observed this in my patients. So is it true? And if we observe it one or two patients, yes, that becomes a case report. And if only one, it becomes anecdotal evidence. But when we do a research based on a sound research methodology and design, then it is where we can publish a paper. So first, this is the example that I will take. I know it's a very simple example, but I wanted to take a simple example and explain. See, for example, OP psychiatrist who is in his OP, he is observing that patients with who have been on antipsychotic for a longer duration are having more features of metabolic syndrome with worse metabolic parameters like BMI, waist circumference, and so on. So now the question is this true? And do you want, how can I say with definitive evidence that this is a possibility? Of course, we are not establishing causal factors, we are trying to establish association. We'll get to that. So this is the question. So as you can see, in adults with severe mental illness on antipsychotics for more than 2 months, attending a psychiatric OPD is greater antipsychotic exposure, either longer duration or higher cumulative dose, associated with worse metabolic parameters. So now, whenever this is the basic question that I have, simple question. And if you want, see every step, as I told you, you will have this. If you scroll down, you will have the AI part. This box will be the once it starts. This is the previous app. Till now, it was this till the checklist. After that, you have the AI part where you will have all the tools and all the prompts that can help you in that particular step. So the research question is this, and usually for you to make it into a definitive objective, you for RCTs you have something called PICO format, PICO, where P is population, I is intervention, C is control group, and O is outcome. Here for this research, you have something called PCO, where E is exposure. So everything you can have ask a chat GPT or any basic AI chatbot for formulating this. For example, reframe my rough idea as a focused objective, and it will give you a tight answerable question. And you can ask whether this is already researched. See, but some of the things is the basic AI chatbots like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude, their idea on research, actual research papers is not that robust. It is so what they and they are usually designed to give you some answer. So in that as rather than truth, basically in that aspect, sometimes they do hallucinate, and they may give you wrong answers, and they may give you fictional links. So always don't trust but verify will be the dictum for any of this. But so you can ask all these questions. So you have a research question, and now this is like for the same example, we have formulated into PECO format. which because many journals also expect the title, research title itself to be in such a PSU format. It should have all this like as part of the title. So then, of course, the null hypothesis. Some journals do expect this, the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis is opposite of what you think. I feel there is an association between longer antipsychotic duration or more dose with the increase in metabolic parameters. But you should say the null hypothesis. I presume there is no difference. So alternative hypothesis is your actual idea, what you have. Okay. So the phase one checklist is research question you are formulating into a clear and I'll just get on how A can help here. Echo components and all the hypothesis, objectives, everything written. So if you come down, there is a ready prompt. For example, you are a senior research methodologist, you can just copy it and paste it into anything. And if you have a research question, you will get the answers. Do not answer the question. Instead, reframe it as a focused cross-section study objective. Tell whether it is already answered. List what is ambiguous. All these questions you can get before you even move on to whether this is a feasible research or not. So AA can answer many of this. And you can check novelty through some other additional tools. So everywhere in this app, if you click a tool like this is a tool, this is a tool, you will get a descriptor. So what is the tool, how to use it, an example you can which you can copy and paste it into the tool. So for example, this is novelty. So there's a this is consensus is a very good tool actually. It is a search engine, but it is basically specifically for research and it has AI in it. So you can ask certain direct questions like this. Is longer antipsychotic treatment related to? So I'll just open it and show. I already have it here. So you create an account and everything. So I just prepared it so that I don't want to waste time. So yes, the same thing is longer antipsychotic treatment associated with higher BMI. So consensus is like you in PubMed you have. I will get to that. You says the question. You have a specific mesh terms. You have keywords like that. Here you can talk in plain English and the answer will be in simple English. See, it will go through many research papers and it will give you the answer. Is longer antipsychotic treatment associated with higher BMI? Yes, longer is associated, but gains are largest early and very. So, and it will tell you how many studies show yes. So it has 79% yes. Some studies also show no. So it will also list that also. You can see here the top studies and what they say. Yes, and I think some will say no. For example, this says it is not in line with our hypothesis. So some of the studies will also be there, which shows that there is no correlation between duration and the metabolic side effects. So this is a consensus app. So this is one you can use in plain English to have your questions answered. And Elicit is also something similar. See, these are you can use free to an extent. Some of these, so Elicit, yeah. So Elicit, I think you're able to see. So I'll explain Elicit
Can
in
you
the next.
ask people to mute, please?
I'll explain elicit in the next step. So you can check for novelty whether this question is already answered. So if already answered, yes, what else can I make it new? That is something that we can focus. Okay, so I will get, suppose there is one step, as I told you, if I don't have an idea here, there are many steps in this. How do I get an idea? Okay, from a very clinical hunch and I will get an idea. So I'll go through that last. So now this is a consensus app which is useful for getting a question answered in plain English. Next phase. So the next phase, once you have a research question and you have formulated into like methodology format and you have objectives and everything, you have to do a literature review. Literature reviews like what has already been done before, like what literature already exists, because it should not be a repetition. And if it is already done, what else is missed? Okay, so one of the things that can help in a literature review is like to find gaps is the limitations and the future directions of previous research. So if you go through previous research, and there will be a section of limitations and future directions where they would say this has to be done in the future. And this is an area that you can capture for the same idea. This has not been explored. So you can try to frame your research based on these aspects. So basically, where do you do your literature review is we do from PubMed, Google Scholar, Cochrane Library for systematic reviews, and Embase. But mostly we use PubMed. Okay, so Google Scholar is okay, but the thing is, it lists very not so quality journals also. So but for rare research, you can use rare topics. You can use Google Scholar where you don't get the data in PubMed. So does anyone know what are mesh terms and Boolean operators? Any idea? You can just share it in the chat. Example of a Boolean operator that is used in PubMed. Okay, so you can unmute and answer also. So see, basically the mesh terms are something like this, like the see instead of depression, if depressive disorder major, that is a better mesh term. So PubMed has specific vocabulary which gives better results, more precise results. And Boolean operators are something like and or not. These three are the Boolean operators. So if you add and you narrow, because it will give you only research which has both these keywords. If you put or, it will give either of these keywords are there. And for example, we'll come back to our question. So suppose we want our research, no, antipsychotics and the metabolic syndrome and duration. So we want a research that focus on this. So this will be how it, I think you can see, this will be how the AI build. If you can ask the AI to build this. Okay, build me a PubMed strings, search strings mesh with Boolean for my topic. So you can ask ChatGPT and any of the AI chatbots, and with that you get something like this. So antipsychotic or neuroleptic, because some studies may mention it, older studies may mention it as neuroleptic, and weight gain or metabolic. So these are the R. So any of the studies which any of these will come, but it should have all this both. So this is how it works, and the AI can make this instead of racking our brains and how to create this. You can just ask AI to make this search term. And so what AI can do is it can build search strategies, it can summarize and compare papers, and it can surface the gap. So literature review is one of the most important areas where AI can you can maximize the use of AI. But see, everything is your decision. Whenever you are using AI for research, you use it for reducing the time, but never leave the decision making to AI. It has to be your decision, whether you are including a particular paper in your reference, whether you are type of study you are choosing, everything you can get an idea from AI, but it should be a decision. Which papers are truly relevant, whether a finding is trustworthy, what the real gap is, you still decide all this. Okay. So consensus, as I told you, we can get an idea in a plain question answer. Elicit is, say, for example, you can get something like this. Find studies measuring antipsychotic dose and metabolic and list their sample size and main findings. So, yeah. So, find studies measuring antipsychotic dose and metabolic parameters and list the sample size. So, it has mentioned the sample size also here. Actually, first it did not mention. So, you can always add a specific column or delete a column like this. So it gives the advantage of Elicit, the one that I mentioned that I'll tell later. This is the app. It is more useful in literature review, and see it will give the major papers, and it gives a summary. So instead of going through the entire paper, you can go through this and get an idea of so many papers. So you can consume a lot of information in a short time. And initially, for example, this table was not there, the sample size. You can add a table for like add a column, sample of this study. You can give it instructions and you can add a column. And immediately you get the take some time, you get the sample size for each of the topic. So like that, you can elicit is more useful than PubMed. It's better than because you can add many columns and you can specify what exactly you want from each study. So specifically list the limitations of the study, list the what to say methodology alone, what methodology each study followed. Like that, you can add a specific column and you can ask in plain English what you want from each study. So that is the advantage of Elicit, and that is one of the most useful apps while used for review of literature. Perplexity is a tool that gives citations, which are see out of all this AI chatbots. Perplexity is also similar, but it is one that gives a more authentic answers. It doesn't hallucinate much, mostly because it gets its answers from research papers instead of the general what Google or other things. Semantic Scholar is also similar. It is free, and it also you can list many columns like that. But in that, Elicit is better. Elicit is better. Consensus is for getting answers, question in plain English, answers in plain English. So another thing is, okay, you have found some papers, okay, one or two papers which are good, and I want to find some related papers to this. Yes, one of the things that we usually do is like you go to the paper and you scroll down to the reference of the paper and you check those papers. Actually, that is what usually we will do, and we will get many papers like that. More content for our research. So that's say sometimes some research will be part of a larger paper. They would have broken down a larger research into multiple papers. In that situation, you get more content by going through the actual research, and you will get the other papers also. So that is what we do. But there is something called connected papers. So again, it builds a visual map of papers related to the one you choose, and you can open connected papers. So yeah. So for the same question, whatever that was there, I just copied it. One paper that was there, one major paper, I just uploaded the DOI, digital object identifier, DOI, and or you can even say the paper name. And from that, it will formulate something like this, like a visual map of the related papers. So you can see because based on co-citations, if somebody cited this and this together, it will have a more like a bigger area like that. So you can see related papers through this connected papers app, which is quite useful because it can help new paper discovery, which cannot be found by traditional research methods. So connected papers is something that can be used. It's completely free also. Other things like lit maps are there, but it is paid, slightly paid versions are there. And finally, okay, I've got many papers. I've got all these papers. I want to get a summary out of, say, I've identified some 5 papers or 50 papers, whatever it is. I want to get a summary out of it. So you can ask like anything question. See, there is this tool called Notebook LM. It is an excellent tool for learning and research because it has something that is like it restricts the answers everything based on only the source material you provide. So it has something like source fidelity. It doesn't go stray outside it. So any question you ask, it gives an answer. It will be within that whatever material you provide. In fact, it will cite the exact line or the paragraph from where it is giving that answer. So you can be sure that the answer is not fictitious or a hallucination or it took somewhere from Google. So, for example, I think, yeah, I added some five papers into this. The important some papers that I got through this metabolic syndrome and antipsychotic. So we can ask a question like this. So, what sample sizes and effect sizes do they report? So, you want to say generally what are the so that we can formulate our own research and you can ask any so it will restrict only to the five sources. It will not go beyond all this five sources. And you also have, of course, for learning many things. This is not that relevant for research, but this gives a audio overview, mind map, and reports, timeline. So many things you get. So I think it is taking slightly, yeah. So you are getting, see, you are getting the question, what sample sizes, effect sizes did they report? Each it is giving. The five papers that I mentioned, each it is telling the sample size and effect size it is giving for each. So like that. So all this 180, 148 participants, everything is specific. Okay. So it is not, so it is completely true because see, you can actually check also. Like if you see, it is quoting the exact place in the article where it is taken that data from. Okay. We included 100 randomized control patients. And suppose if you say somewhere like this, yeah, how did that arrive at that 137? You can see that specific answer. If you can also view source and it will open that particular page and show you exactly where it is. Think it's some issue with loading, but so it will show you the exact place. So this is so notebook LM is not only useful for learning, it is excellent for research because of the source fidelity. Okay. And this is for screening. I have not used it that much, but you can try it out to get a idea of tool that uses active learning to speed up abstract screening. So you give a lot of records and you it can give you the like overview faster. I've not used it, but that is one of the things. So literature review, you what else can you use? Here is a copyrighted prompt. Help me build a literature search for this cross-sectional objective. Give me five PubMed search of use key list the key concepts and if you know landmark papers or recent reviews, name them, but tell me to verify each exists and do not invent citations or device. So, because this is very important, many AI do this repeatedly, even after whatever version, latest version, they do keep doing this. So, you can just copy it and paste it into any chat GPT, place your objective, which we have already got from the previous section, and then move on. Okay, the next phase is ethics and IEC approval. So here, the basic thing is every like research requires IEC approval before the data collection stage. Because if you, this is one thing that sometimes we make a mistake. We start data collection or while submitting to the journal, we put the data collection date before data was collected from this to this, but the IEC date is after this, they will reject the topic. So you have to have first IEC approval and IEC approval definitely it will vary from like institution to institution, but you will have to submit the title, the objectives, the hypothesis, the design, everything. You have to sample size and everything, and you have to have an informed consent from your patients. Mostly, especially RCTs, you have to get an informed consent. And suppose you are taking blood from especially some patients, so all this has to be covered and data confidentiality has to be mentioned. So you have to, so how AA can help in this stage? So draft a participant information sheet. So your informed consent should have two areas. One is the information sheet which will show you all the details about whatever your drug. For example, your one drug is there, you have to tell all the side effects, the benefits, everything you have to tell in that. And then the consent form actual where like I've understood the everything, I have the option to withdraw from this at any stage, and like this all this will be there and the patient has to sign and give it. It has to be in plain language, usually in the preferred vernacular language. Okay. And so you can use that. So you can give all the notes that you have gathered about your research, and it will give it to the AI, and it will give you a participant information sheet. It can draft an informed consent form, and it can give a product summary also, if protocol summary also, if you want, for the IEC. Okay, so this is where, for example, you have this copyright. Draft the following in SLAM for an Indian Institution Ethics Committee following ICMR ethical guidelines for a cross-sectional study. You have to put your topic, this you have to replace. It will give you the participant information sheet, the written consent form, and so you can just copy it and paste it into any area. So this is also an area where you don't have to sit and take the time to form and inform the consent, everything. What used we have to type and think, and that barrier is removed. You get it in minutes or very in a very short time. But finalize again, you have to be sure what your IEC expects, that all the risks are disclosed, and final approval. So you have to, it's like you only have to be the decision maker. So the next step is study design details. So as we started with the cross-sectional study, cross-sectionals have both a descriptive element in the form of a prevalence. For example, if you are just seeing prevalence of higher BMI or prevalence of diabetes in patients with, say, who are on antipsychotics for more than 3 months, that is a descriptive study. You are not doing any analysis. But here you are trying to analyze, you are trying to find out if longer duration is related to higher metabolic side effects. So you are doing an analytical part also. So where can AI help in study design is, you can learn more about like what study design is better for my topic. You can give all the information that you have collected, and you can ask, explain the key features of this design. What are the biases that can happen in this study design, and what are the weaknesses? You can use it many times. You can use the AI as a sparring partner. Like it is intelligent. It has, in fact, all the knowledge in the world. Only thing is, it has because something called reinforcement based on human feedback, reinforcement learning based on human feedback, RLHF. So it has a tendency to agree with you generally. That's how it's built. So that is the area you should be careful. Otherwise, you can spar with it, get more ideas, verify, validate your ideas. For that, it is good actually. So, and finally, you can say report using strobe. Strobe is a checklist that we use for cross-sectional studies. Like we have many things, Prism, Strobe, Consort, like that for different studies. Here we use Strobe. And AI can explain the design and the rules, named what are the biases that you can expect actually before going to the study. See, you are not even collected a single data, but now you are thinking of the bias. So that is how you can use AI. And it can critique your draft, the methodology also. It can say, okay, this area is not, you can refine everything. And whether the design, but you decide the final stages. Okay. Sometimes CA may keep pushing off some things. Okay. Even this whole app I designed with Claude. So every step it was pushing something. It was saying, but we decide. Yes, no, no. Still, I know you want, but I want this. I want it to be like this. We decide the final outcome. And uh, here you can use like what biases threaten a cross-sectional study, correlating antipsychotic duration parameters. Now you can copy and paste it to ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. You can ask for strengths, confounding factors, selection bias, many terms that it can help. Or you can even ask the AI at this stage of research methodology, like I'm doing a cross-sectional study. What are the methodology terms that I should be aware? And please explain and also make it relevant to my study. If you give a prompt like this, it will be very specific to your study. Okay. And as I told you, consensus, you can have data at any point in plain English, answered in plain English. Size space, it's costly actually, so I have not tried it. And again, the prompt. Act as a research methods tutor for a beginner. So I am a beginner. I want to learn about research methodology. For a cross-sectional study, explain the key design features I must get right, the common mistakes, the main biases. And so you have to tell your plan, because by now we will have an idea of what we are going to do and everything. With that, you have to tell and then ask its opinion. And next phase is variables. So this is one of the things in statistics and research. What is an independent variable in our study? The antipsychotic exposure. It is not changing. We are giving antipsychotic exposure whether the metabolic parameters are going to change based on this variable or not. So they become the dependent variable, and this is the independent variable. And these are the confounders. So and the metabolic parameters may be change based on other things also, age, gender, and diet, and physical activity, and other things, alcohol or something like that. So you can say, and this is the variable. What is operational definition is if you say depression severity, or if you want to say antipsychotic exposure, how it is duration in months or duration in years. Specifically, that is the operational definition. If you want to say hypertension, you have to say BP more than systolic BP more than 140, or specifically like that. Measured where? Measured in the left upper limb in sitting posture. Something like that. You have to tell it very clearly. So that is very important. That is called as an operational definition. And this is simple, like what type of data you are using. Nominal is like you have order, like it's mild, moderate, sorry, categories, male, female, blood group, or all nominal data. Ordinal data is mild, moderate, severe. And what we generally use continuous variables like age and other, most of the scores that we use are usually continuous variables. And so this is the checklist. Every step has a checklist. And here how AA can use. See, list my variables. Now you have formed so many things, the methodology and everything. With that, give me what are the variables in my study? What are the confounders? How do I measure so it gives it gives the variable. As I told you, most of the variables will be continuous. Except for the drug type or gender, all these things, most of the things usually we'll be seeing is continuous. So AI can draft the variables list, write operation definitions, build the data dictionary and everything. So you still decide which measures to use. You have to operationalize each thing. So how do I take way circumference? How you have to define that still. So again, yeah. So you can use elicit also to see previous, or you have a set of papers or previous papers. You can see that what metabolic outcomes and exposure methods they use. So you can compare your own variable list and operational definitions to previous papers. See what I'm missing or something to add on, or if it's already answered, what more novelty can I bring, all these things. And every step, as I told you, has a cooperative prompt. For a cross-sectional study on this topic, help me define my variables. So you have all the variables here listed, list grouped as outcome, exposure, predictors, confounders for each type. So this is what we got, something like this. This is what we got here. Once we asked it to build the table, that it is what it built. Okay. So the next step is sampling. Sampling is like you cannot, ideally, we have to take sample to say something works for the whole population, which is not possible. So we are studying a subset of the population. So the target population is the where your whole thing applies to the whole population, and study population is that where you can statistically reach. For example, all people attending your OP may be your study population, but you don't take data from all the people who have come to your OP. Only maybe some say 5,000 people are coming. You don't do that. You take 100 from that. That is the actual sample. So this is an example, and you have to define inclusion and exclusion criteria. Here also, AI can help. You can help it to define the inclusion criteria, ask for what are the exclusion criteria that I should not miss. All this it can help. And sampling method. What sampling method should I use? Generally, for a very like robust research that we are doing properly, especially RCTs and all, probability sampling, because we can generalize to the community or the target population. But mostly for our practical purposes in clinics, we use non-probability sampling, which is consecutive sampling. For RC, recommended for your design hospital OPD study, consecutive sampling, like every eligible patient you can keep on adding to the sample. So all this random sampling, all this, these are probability samples, simple, random, systematic, all this. but that's actually quite difficult to do in an OPD setting. It's okay to do consecutive sampling. Many journals do accept that if the actual research question is quite good. Okay, so this is a checklist, and how can AI help here? Again, so sorry. So you have a copyrighted prompt you can use for a cross-sectional study. Recommend a sampling method. Explain. You can put the topic in your setting, OP setting, IP setting, whatever, or OP set clinic having this many patients per day in Chennai. You the more you give context, the better your response. So see, they say garbage in, garbage out. So you put not very few data, not much explaining the context. You get a generalized answer which is not relevant to your question. But the more elaborate, the more context you bring, and the better the answers. You don't see you there is a generally they say they have this in Twitter, YouTube, Insta, they will have this, okay, this is a prompt, you use this prompt for a you don't even have to have such ready-made prompts. You if you better explain your question well, just like talking to a person, it will give you the better answer, as simple as that. So you can ask which method fits and why, step by step procedure, and can follow in the study. It can give you the SOP, standard operating protocol for your study, and everything. So the next step is sample size. Sample sizes, it should reflect. See, to have study to be meaningful, you should have a meaningful sample size. So mostly this is cross-sectional. Still, we base it on a prevalence study. For cross-sectional, generally we use what we have. So assuming based on previous studies, the metabolic syndrome or the elevated metabolic parameters is 30% for a study. Assuming like that. Based on that, actually they have another app called Sample Stat Navigator you can use, but generally the app that can use is OpenAP. That is an app which gives easy sample size. So this is the OpenAP app. So very simple. See, for sample size for this, you have to choose proportion, and you just open here. You can enter the data. You just leave the population size. Usually, I think it will be 1 lakh. You just leave it. This is what I told about the 30%. 30% is the frequency of the population having the problem, like say the prevalence of metabolic syndrome for our study. And this is five because we are comfortable 95% confidence. So that means we are generally for most of the studies we use this 95% limit. Very robust 99, but this five you can leave it. This also we can leave it as one. Nothing you don't have to change except for cluster sampling. This will be different, but you don't have to worry. You just have to calculate and see it gives. We go for 95%. We want this, so the sample size is 323. 323 is the total sample. So if you so of the population, so you have sample size of 323. So we got the sample size also. And there are other the G Power is there. You have to download this. Clinic Calc is also there. It's quite simple. I've not yet tried this, but OpenAP is quite good. Very simple. It's available online. The next phase is data collection. So how do I collect my data? So you have many patients. Yes, very simple is you can use questionnaires, you can use self-designated pro forma, clinical measurement. In this case, yes, we'll be having specific clinical measurements. All these things you have to use. And these are the you have to have a data sheet properly where you are using all this. I feel Excel is better generally for collecting the data, storing the data, because you can just upload the Excel into anything. Most of the statistics apps like SPSS, all this GraphPad, Prism, everything except Excel. So just collect the data in Excel, store the data in Excel, and use the data for analysis using the same data. Okay. So, for example, in this step, how you can use this? You have a variable list from the last step, the previous and before that, into a clinician compiled data collection pro forma. For example, you are not the person collecting the data. Somebody you are also giving it to your colleagues or your someone else in the clinic. So you have to give the what they have to collect. That is the data collection pro forma. So you paste the variables, whatever is your variables, and it will give you a layout as a clean one-page proforma with clear fields and units. Add validation rules. What are the plausible ranges? Also, see, sometimes you should not put age as 0 or BP as 250. So all this should be there. You can preferably you can give it a Google form. Google form you can have rules also, and there are other collections. Kobo Toolbox is one thing similar to Google Form where you can have rules for this specific, like for example, age means it cannot cross 100 or be below 18, something like that. You can do rules also so that you avoid errors at that point of time. And you can write brief measurements SOPs so that see how it should be measured. So, for example, BP, one assistant may do it in like physician assistant may do it wrongly, or any data collection should be following the same protocol. So you give the SOP also to the person collecting the data. The next is data management. Data management is where usually main problem occurs because we collect the data and we don't store it properly or manage it properly. Somebody gives one data, you give, and while mixing, some confusion happens. So Excel sheet is very good for less than 500 subjects. If it's more, there is something called RedCap. It's a free web-based tool. You can use it, but most of the time we will be doing less than 500. I think Excel is pretty good at that. You can enter data directly into SPSS, but I prefer you have to once you get into the role, I think, but I think Excel is really good at data collection stage. So this is like, and you have to code it. See, instead of maybe while the proforma is made, the data collection proforma, male, female, everything will be there. But male is equal to 1, female is equal to 2, or smoking is equal, not smoking 0, currently smoking 2, something like that. You have to code it. So because all the softwares read that better. Okay. So again, the checklist is there. And so suppose you have some messy data. Okay. So like any data that you have, like I think I have this. This. So, for example, I just asked you to give an example of a messy data. So, see, this is like not very, I think many, it will be like many people took this. So, see, the thing is here, some people have written F, female, and here also some people have put years and some only the number. And Chennai, so many things are there, different, see, major depressive disorder, some have put MDD, all these things. So, you have, this is an example of a messy data because it doesn't follow a proper structure. They have used whatever thing they want for each of the type of steps. So for that, there is something called open refine. So you put that messy data into it, and then it will refine and give you based on AI. Okay, so it will formulate what it will ask your questions like what to do and everything. So you can standardize inconsistent drain names, like so you can say what to do in plain English. So it will do. Now I think maybe Excel Copilot also can do many of these things, but I have not tried. So, but for such messy data, OpenRefine is good. It is free, so we prefer free tools. And storing Google Sheets or plain Excel is good. Next is statistical analysis. This is the part where we get uh, anxious or like we don't know, have an idea. We usually refer it to the statistician. But see, first thing is there is I have this SOAP stat navigator where it tells you if you know what type of data, what type of research you have to do. Like for example, in our study, numerical data, and we want to check like duration of antipsychotic exposure versus BMI. So both are numerical data. We want to see correlation. So we have to see correlation. So normal distribution, or is it skewed? Normal is like simple measure of normality. This they will say normality. Simple measure is in your data if the mean, median, and mode are very near to each other. It is a normal data. Or if you want to do a proper test, you have to do something called Shapiro-Wills test. If it is more than 0.05, it suggests normality. But general simple thing is but okay, if you are still unsure, you can go for, I presume my data is not normal. That is, it is not distributed like a bell curve. So I go presume. So it shows that Spearman's rho is the test that I should do. So put the data and this is the test you have to do. So you can use that app, Stat Navigator for that. But you also have many other apps. One of the simplest is something called Jamovi. Okay, so Jamovi is an app. You have Jamovi Cloud. The thing is, sometimes takes some time to load. But if you have all the, think I did. And it will keep. See, this is the problem with Jamovi. So the thing is, many of the times that you try to use it, at the time they have a limited number of free users. So you have to find the time when people are not there. Otherwise, it will probe you to get a subscription. Okay, but you do get free times where you can actually use. I don't know if yeah, I think I have it. So you can use. Sorry, this is not. Yeah. So yeah, you can upload the data and you can see it will come like this. And after you get the data, you have all this tests and everything. With that, you can do all the research that you want. So you get the correlation matrix, all the results you can get through using this app actually. If SPSS is difficult, you can use Jamovi, but as I told you, it has some time. And yes. So if you become comfortable, you can start using SPSS. Actually, it is not that difficult, and but initially, I think Jamovi will be slightly easier. So this is the data analysis. Now results and reporting. As I told you, there is a reporting guideline called STROBE, and you have to use that, and you have to put tables and figures and everything. So you can actually see this is again where AI can help you a lot better. Claude can generate wonderful tables and very good figures and everything. You don't initially what we'll have to do is put that particular data into Excel and you have to select that and then put insert and you have to choose a chart and then you'll produce a chart in Excel. But this Claude is excellent at actually giving a lot of easier visualizations. So you can get very easy like visualization. So you can use this using these analysis inputs. You have to put the data that you got from Jamovi or any other SPSS or whatever, and you draft the results for a cross-section study paper, a table, one of sample characteristics, the main results table, the narrative with effect sizes, everything. So you see the main thing will be deciding what to include in your final paper or final study. Your decision is that part is it that there's not a mistake. Okay. And fine. And many of the one of the things that you can use AI for is cross-checking each other. So see, you give something, it gives a data or something, it produces a information sheet or it produces something like a effect size or a summary, something like that. You get it from say ChatGPT. You put it into Gemini and say the same thing. Check audit. You can use the word audit. Audit whether this is correct or if anything is audit for technical accuracy, grammatic accuracy, and research methodology. All these things you can specifically say it will audit specifically. Okay. So that is one thing that is a very important thing. You can sometimes we can keep doing this till we get that version. It gives one version again. You put the Gemini tool like this, and then you can like again ask ChatGPT. See, what do you agree? Okay, so like this you can have them. And finally, before publishing, this is the IMRAD structure. I think we'll know introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Okay, so analysis and discussion. So this is the part how you have to. So the title abstract, how it should be. See, for example, antipsychotic treatment. So duration, dose, metabolic parameters, and severe mental illness. A cross-section study. This could be so. It follows the PICO method. But actually, it doesn't have the population. Ideally, it should also have the population. In patients with severe mental illness attending a psychiatric OPD in South India or something like that. So this is the title and everything you will have how to do and how AI can use this. you can help you refine your topic. See, main thing with AI is if you ask it to write everything, it will have a flair of writing, which will be very easily detectable by other researchers. So you have to be very careful in that. You don't give everything to AI. Okay. And one of the things for references, has anybody used Zotero for references? So there is a very important free app, excellent for references. So that is called as Zotero. So what it does is, so you can like for example, any page it has many things in that it has a right open the Zotero app. So it has online, it has a desktop version, and it also has a this is the Zotero. So you can see this. So any page, suppose if I open a something like anti-psychotic and metabolic syndrome, if I just put and I get one study, so this is a study, atypical and metabolic syndrome. And if I have Zotero, if I just click like this study will directly go into that. Okay. So, and I can choose where in my, so I have many these. So this is from, for example, my Zotero has almost 10 years of data, like more than 10 years when I started doing my thesis. So it is like this, for example, all the studies, senior thesis, my thesis, all this. So Zotero has all the research, and the thing is, finally, if you just put uh, bibliography, it will just fill your reference section. So Zotero is extremely useful for that. Paper ball is also while polishing, it helps to polish better than other AA. Okay, so paper ball is something you can use to polish the. For example, I have this particular discussion section. I want to polish it. It helps. Okay, so this is the final, and now we have started from a research hunch to the final publication. So you can use paper ball for the final polishing. Okay. And yeah, again sort of, so all this you can use for any studies, and this is the AI toolkit. If you go here, you will get idea about different tools that are there. Beginners, you should know about OpenAP, consensus, connected papers, notebook LM, Google Forms, Jamovi, and Zotero, whatever we have all discussed all this. And you can every step you will have everything. So this is complete in its week. So any questions?
There's some questions in the chat box.
Okay, so,
Dr. Arudra, you can read through the questions. A couple of questions, then we go to the next speaker.
So I am not. I'm seeing that, sir. I'll go through, sir. So how about Scopus AI compared to? I have not tried Scopus AI. Elicit I have tried Perplexity. Scopus AI I have not tried actually. So AI tools bypass academic paywalls. Yes, sir. This is a question of ethical question. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to answer this. See, ethical boundaries are very strong in Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT. But any Chinese tool, even yesterday, Dr. Karthik was saying, any Chinese tools, they don't have much of rules, but they can also land you in problems. So that is the thing. DeepSeek doesn't have much of a ethical boundaries. Okay, so I won't advise on how to use ethically, but yes, it can sometimes bypass. And I think there is a well-known um, site called Sci Hub. Uh, Again, this is not ethical, but it gives you all the any paper. If you have the DOI, if you put even if it is under paywall, you will get that Sci-Hub. Oh, I don't know. They keep changing that extension. It was RE at one point. They keep changing. I don't know. But you can, I mean, it gives everything. It helped me a lot. Actually. With the help of, yes, 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 we can. Creating a paper on effectiveness or antidepressant. Yes, sir. Definitely. Yes, we can demo, sir. Later on, is I'm willing to. And any online training, I think there are some YouTube is there. I didn't actually, I learned this by just experimenting and learning through, but I think some YouTube channels are there. If I look up if anything is good, there is a site called udemy.com where it offers many courses, and I have come across one or two which are good courses actually. It's only 500 rupees, 400 rupees. They usually give a discount, so usually 400, 500 rupees. So udemy.com is where you can see training for research methodology actually. I think given this Swayam portal, our NTPL, that they have many free courses actually on research methodology. Government of India's. So I don't know. B10X, no, sorry. I don't think so actually. I keep coming across this ad for that. I don't know. It looks like I have to go through actually. From because I got this something similar to this B10X. I got messages or something. It looked like some scam or something. So I didn't actually go, but I don't have an idea. Okay, so
If any more questions, I think so we'll take it after the second speaker.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I'll stop sharing.
Dr. Arudra, can you introduce the second speaker? Dr. Arudra?
Sir, it's okay. I can introduce myself also. Can I do that, sir? Can we get started?
Just a minute. Yeah, we'll one more question. I just go through it, Dr. Iniyan.
Okay, sir. I don't understand that. What's your comment on plagiarism with yes, definitely they will. There is a every journal has a very robust plagiarism detection actually. So always whatever you final version, you go through a plagiarism tool. If of course Turnitin is very good, but you have many online free plagiarism checkers. You go through that and then submit that version because if you that's what I would never writing any recommend writing anything completely with AI. Even if you had produced a part, rewrite it with your own words. That is my suggestion to avoid this and plagiarism because it checks for the flair, how the wordings are, and A as a definitive style of writing. And usually, plagiarism checkers have, I think, six. If you have a set of same six words, usually very strict, they have six words. then it will mark it as plagiarism. So if you are quoting from another reference also, try to change it slightly, small things actually, the prepositions or something you have to change so that you don't have the same exact six words continuously. I don't understand storage option in guest mode for what? I don't understand. Sorry. Okay,
Dr.
sir.
Arudra, yeah, Dr. Arudra, you can introduce the second speaker.
Okay. Moving on to the next speaker, Dr. Vikas Prabhav. He has completed his MBBS from Balaji Medical College and his MD in Psychiatry from Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research in 2016. He served as a principal consultant at Vivid Mind Clinic from 2017 to 2025. He currently works with the DHUFT as a specialist doctor in child and adolescent mental health services in UK. Alongside his clinical work, he has a strong interest in technology and digital innovation in mental health care. He has also written two books, which is Beyond the Code and The Soul Searcher's Guide, which are available on Amazon. He has developed various mental health applications, including anger and anger management app that has been downloaded more than 50,000 times. His work focuses on helping clinicians use technology to improve patient care and translate ideas into practical. Welcome, Dr. Vikas Prabha. I hand over the.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. You just unmute
I think
yourself, sir.
can you hear me and see me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. So I think it's already been an intense morning with I think almost 40, 50 tools that Dr. Iniyan has rapid fire introduced to us. So I think I'll slow it down a little bit and make sure this is something that all of us can take away something from. So the idea behind why I wanted people to know how to make their own apps is that over the last few years, I've seen quite a lot of mental health professionals with brilliant ideas falling prey to software developers and ending up with an idea that is given to someone. And at the end of the day, nothing gets made and a lot of money gets spent. So I think it's important for all of us to be able to leverage the power of app making. So I think that's the primary uh, goal of the session, to be able to make our own apps. Uh, Before we get started, I have a few questions people can answer in the chat box. Uh, how many of you have had an app idea? Aniket has made one. I think a lot of us, I think all of us have had app ideas, haven't we? I don't think there is a person without an app idea at the end of the day. Rather than Aniket, how many people have built their own apps? Dr. RC has also built an app, so two people have built their own apps. Mohan Raj sir has an app idea. In the chat box, can we quickly put in what stopped us from building our own apps? Dr. Prabhu says, I have no idea of how to build an app. Can we have more answers in terms of why we didn't convert our ideas into apps? Dr. Satish built his own website. Prabhu says it might be technical. Mohan Raj sir says no knowledge. Not knowing how to code was the challenge. Dr. Gaurav says couldn't find the right tool. So cool. So all of us have had ideas and we're all subject matter experts. And if we could make apps, Prabhu says it could have been costly. I think that could be the best thing that can happen. So that's something that by the end of today's session, we'll have a small idea about what apps are and how we can build our own app. And today we will build an app before the end of the session. So people who have laptops alongside can keep it available. So when it gets there, we can try that as well. Rajkumar sir, by the end of the next half an hour, you will be able to build an app for yourself. Why do you think psychiatrists need to learn how to build apps? Can we have some answers as well? Or what is the danger in separating subject matter experts from people who make tools to represent their expertise? A few years ago, one of the hospitals I was working in, uh, we were trying to build EHR, an electronic health record. The costing was in multiple tens of lakhs. Um, it was so difficult to convey to the makers of the software the difference between a general hospital and a psychiatric hospital and the kind of systems that we wanted, that it took so much time for them to keep working. And each time they work, it costs you more money because you have to hire more people. So I think that layer makes it difficult for us to translate our knowledge and experience into something that is useful. Like Dr. RC is saying, it's very difficult for people to understand what the mental health professionals' needs are. Can you guys put in a few simple ideas you've had, but never had the time or expertise or knowledge in the chat box? I think Mohan Raj sir saying confidentiality is a problem is absolutely true. I'm not going to trust my patient's data with anybody. So it makes sense that I have my own. In the past, uh, we bought what was called enterprise software, for example, Microsoft Office. So for doctors, we bought enterprise software as appointment booking systems or EHRs. I'll tell you my own experience with it. So when I started off my practice, I got scammed by Practo. They asked me to pay for marketing and didn't send me any patients. I moved on to Librate. Librate was fairly good. They had a robust system, but they had no cancellation fee. So if a person booked an appointment and then didn't turn up, I would not get any money. So let's say around 2020, when the lockdown happened, I decided to make my own appointment booking service where people had to pay in advance and there was a cancellation fee. The result of that was almost 4 to 5x revenue, and almost 95% of people who would book appointments will actually turn up because I could make an app that understood my needs and I didn't have to pay for it. So, in learning to leverage software for our use, it makes the world a much simpler place for us. We may not build as something as complex as an appointment booking or payment app today, but something simpler. So let's just get started before we brainstorm, come up with an idea, and build an app. Now, an application is essentially a piece of software that does a task. Now, we have applications on everything. Even the television remote has an application that says if you press one, you have to send out this kind of infrared light. So when you're looking at an application, it has a front end. The front end is what you see and touch, where you enter data into. And then it has a back end, which kind of processes this data. It's the brains of the app. Most apps use some kind of storage where uh, the data that is being entered and processed is stored. And then this app needs to be able to communicate with other apps in order for it to become more functional, be part of the world. So today we will build a standalone HTML page. Now, HTML is the language of the internet. HTML is the language of the internet that builds front ends. Front ends meaning uh, places where the forms are, the design is. For example, in your Zoom app, the front end is what you see, what you click, what you type, what you're seeing. Back end of our HTML, CSS. CSS is cascading style sheets, which essentially is the design aspect of the app. What are the colors? What is the theme of the app? For logic, we will use JavaScript, which is the world's most famous or popular programming language, and it powers most of the world. In terms of data, I'm sure all of you guys are aware of something called cloud data, where data is stored on the internet, and then local data, where data is stored on our device. So for today, for the purpose of confidentiality, we will build an app that is built on HTML and CSS for the front end, JavaScript for the back end, and local storage for storage. We're not going to use any APIs at this point in time because that will require us to depend on other services. Now, if we understand these are the basic building blocks, right? There is a front end and a back end. We need storage and an API. We're not going to use the API today. We're going to build front end, back end, and storage. And we are also going to learn how to host these apps online so that everybody can have access to them. Now, this is what we want to do by the end of today. And just a small disclaimer, borrowing from Spider-Man, we can make huge, really cool apps pretty quickly, but we need to test them before we offer them to other people. Especially, we don't want people entering their data for 6 months and suddenly vanishing at the end of 6 months. So when learning to make an app has become simple, we also need to put in the effort to make sure they are safe. We have to remember AI can hallucinate and will do stupid things, and we need to kind of keep on top of what our apps are doing, and we need to test them rigorously before giving it out to anybody else. Now, I think we can start building, and I'd like us to build this as a group. Can we come up with a simple app idea that we can build now? People are free to put in their ideas in the chat box or unmute and talk about it. Or we can first pause here and say, out of what I've said thus far, is there anything that's confusing or that needs to be cleared out? Nishkumar sir, are you here?
I'm here. I'm just listening.
Yes, sir. Any questions about what we've discussed, sir?
Look, to ask questions, I must know something. I don't know anything. Still hearing and getting information in. Okay.
Okay, so cool. So we are only going to build an app.
Yeah.
The app has, let's say, three parts. What is visible, the front end, what we interact with, the back end, the brains of the app, and the storage. So we are going to build an app with these three parts. So I'm looking for any kind of app ideas. Rajkumar sir, do you have any app ideas? CBT thought
Not at the moment. I'm just listening.
Perfect. Mohan Raj sir, anybody who has ideas?
Not now.
Okay. Cool. I
I'm
don't know
not
if people
able
are just
to.
very.
I'm
Sorry?
not able to pull up my chat box, so I'll just unmute myself to talk. I see a lot of 20 something, in college where there is poor impulse control, and at the first sign of some criticisms, either in personal or being, as a student, they try to want to end their lives. So a lot of deliberate self-harm is what I see. So that was one idea I was thinking as a not like a helpline, but as a companion, a sensible one,
Right.
where it's like a sounding board. It doesn't agree with you.
I think that's
I don't know whether it's too
great.
broad.
I think that's a great uh, uh, problem that we have, right? And something that we can solve with software. So let's come up with an app idea with all the ideas that are in the chat box and what Aradra mentioned. So let's come up with a patient. Let's say the patient's name is Maya. She's 20 years old. She has emotional regulation issues. Um, we want her to be able to track her thoughts, like Dr. Maria said. It's going to be an app that can be accessed via web or mobile, like Dr. RC said, something that can track emotions, like Dr. Gaurav said. I, a drug and appointment, remember, we will include that as well. We will include mindfulness as well. Um, should I visit a psychiatrist can be added on to this app that we are going to make for Maya, right? So we have some features for the app, and now we're going to code it, and we will see if it's good. So for the purpose of making this app, you can use any of the freely available LLMs out there. We don't need specific app building software or platforms at this point in time. Um, so I'm going to use Claude because Claude is the only thing I haven't paid for. So everybody can use the free version. Uh, let's um, you guys can still see my screen, right? Let me just move on to Claude. And you guys can open up any of your preferred AI companions, be it Gemini or Google Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude uh, or Perplexity or Grok, whatever that you want to use. Once you have it open, maybe just let me know so that we can start structuring our prompt to make an app for Maya. Can we start? Thumbs up or yes?
Yes.
Yes. Um, I'm using Claude, like I said, because I haven't paid for it, and this is what most people will see if you log into Claude. So let's structure the prompt. We'll start with who we are. I am psychiatrist. So the first part of the prompt is who am I? Where no experience in coding. Now what do I want to do? I want to build a standalone HTML. So when I say standalone HTML, which means I get only one file and a HTML file. So this will be our app for now. With inline CSS. CSS is the design aspects of the app. JavaScript is the brains of the app and local storage. So I've told Claude who I am. Then I'm telling it some technical terms so that it understands what I want. Now, this process of what we are doing is what people keep claiming to be vibe coding, wherein I am coding with natural language. Now, we want to build an app for Maya. I'm putting in Maya here, but I wouldn't really put in names if this was a real patient. I want to build a hotel piece of Maya. Maybe I'm able to see the prompt. I can read it once I'm done. I've just put in everything that we discussed for this person. So I've asked Claude to build an app. uh, told it a little bit about Maya. I want her to be able to track moods, record triggers, reach out to emergency services. Now, these are the functions I want. I want it to be with design. You can use anything. At the end of the day, I usually put in the last morphism is Apple's latest design. So as Claude tries to build this app, what do you think the result will be? Do you think we're going to have a good app, not a good app? Has anybody tried doing this with ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, other than the ones who've already made the apps?
No.
So we will wait for it to finish. By the time it generates it, Dr. Aniket, do you want to talk about what you've built? So you tried it on AI Studio, as in, do you have an app published? As it continues to build, I think I'll answer this one question by Dr. Mukesh. Using AI for diagnosis when taking history in voice mode, uh, there are several people working on it. I think NIMHANS has a project on it, but I don't think it'll work because the way we diagnose is our diagnostic system itself is a little broken. In the time that it makes this, can I show you guys something that we've already built? Can you see my page, the website right now? You see mental health reimagined on the screen? Yes. Uh, so this is a pet project of mine where I have made a few apps already, so we can look at this as Claude is building our app. Um, let's look at a screening test, for example. So this is based on the EQ, and this particular page took me maybe 5 minutes to make when I did make it. One of the use cases is we can replace all our paper questionnaires with uh, HTML files or other apps. The advantages of uh, actually building an app online versus a paper document, and I will show you. So in reality, a patient will have to fill this in, but we're just doing a demo. Uh, it gives you a pretty good looking interactive way to look at your results rather than something that we write down. It's easier to formulate when you have uh, a visual uh, matrix, and it probably takes no more than a few minutes to record and generate a report. With this one, I think I can also print it and share it with the patient. Not sure why Claude is taking so long, so I'm going and let this happen in the background, and I will move to Gemini as well. So in Gemini, there is a tool called Canvas, which lets you watch what you're building real time. As you're noticing, usually this is much quicker. I'm not sure why Claude's taking so much time in trying to build the wireframe of that app. But we're almost done. At the end of the day, uh, Gemini did it quicker. So when the AI is actually coding in the background, it's writing a lot of lines of code. So like it mentioned, it's writing our HTML file, which is the front end. If it will still be writing the JavaScript. And let's say a few years ago, for someone to be able to do this would take hours or days or weeks. Can you guys see the app? So Claude has built something. Is everybody able to see the app built by Claude? Radhanan sir, is there any way to remove the scribbles from the screen?
Yeah, I'll try to do.
So it took maybe 5 minutes. It seemed like a long time for me because it usually does things faster. Let's say now it's generated a HTML file. So Gemini is doing that in the background on the side. And we have some feedback on this app. Let's say Maya's having an urge right now and she clicks support. It opens up an urge surfing thingy. We can change the numbers because I'm in the UK, it's showing me UK numbers, but we can change it to Indian numbers. And gives her some resources. Now, this is something if I can enter ahead of time, this will be something that pops up. There is a reminder that comes up as well. Now, the design of this app is not great because it built it in like a few minutes. And I think Gemini might be done as well. Is there anything you guys would like to improve on this in Maya's personal help and support app? And do you think if we could share something like this personalized to our patients with them, it, obviously with a little more testing, it would be useful for them. Now, with all the features that we asked Claude to put in this, there is a mood tracker. I can add my triggers and save it. I can maybe add a feature to share it with my therapist. There are skills that I can be reminded of. And these are things I can discuss with my clients before putting on their personal app as well. We can add notifications on progressive web apps. Now, app building is usually asked, what did Aniket, what did Gemini do for you? Gemini hasn't generated anything for me at this point. Uh, until this point, all we did was discuss what HTML, CSS, JavaScript was, and then we used natural language to put it in Claude. Now we have a HTML file. Any questions thus far before we uh, talk about how to share this or how to view this on a phone or how to put this online for other people to use?
Dr. Vikas, how is it that you are typing into Claude But then how did
Mm.
Gemini start doing? What part of the coding was done with, I mean, the app building Gemini was doing? I was not able to catch it when you
Um, so so because Claude was taking a long time, subjectively long time, according to me,
Okay.
I moved to Gemini to see if it was able to do it a little quicker,
Oh,
but
right.
Gemini
Okay.
didn't as well. So, but the the app was completely made in Claude only. So this
Oh,
is the prompt that we gave, and this is the app it made. Now, obviously, this is the first iteration of the app, so there will be a lot of problems, fine-tuning ideas that we can add. We can add to a smartwatch, we can connect to a bunch of things. So, but the idea is all we need to do is open an LLM, put in an app idea, and you will get a HTML file. You can use this to make any kind of app, including an appointment booking app, a CBT app. This is probably something that I will not do with so many features in one app, but the whole session was about saying, hey, you can convert an idea into an app immediately. Any questions about converting an idea into a simple HTML app thus far? Aniket, why I'm not speaking about AI Studio today is because that depends on, again, Gemini to power the back end, and that becomes a little more complex. I think we can talk about anti-gravity AI Studio maybe on another date. Again, I'm not talking about Lovable or Leplit or any of those platforms because I want this to be simple and I want people to be able to do it quickly. So, any questions thus far in terms of how we got to this simple page where a patient has simple resources in their hand? And this is an idea that we came up as a group and ended up making this. Any questions thus far? Just to reiterate, I just opened Claude, told it I was a psychiatrist, added what I wanted in the app, and gave it some design instructions. So now what we have is something called a HTML page. Now, that's a good question from Maria. So what we're going to do, so HTML is essentially what the internet runs on. So what you can do with HTML is you can either download this file or you can, so underlying our app, this is the logic that it is made for. Now you guys don't need to understand it, but this is what runs the app. Now you can download this as HTML or copy and paste it in a Word file. So once you hit download as HTML, now you get a file. I'm going to post this file, or let's say I'm going to just share this file on what? Let's say, for example, let's say I want to put this file in a place where people are able to see. So we have two options. I can directly send this file to people via email or WhatsApp. The only problem there, it won't open on iPhones, but it'll open on PCs and laptops. You don't need internet to access this if I am able to just send the HTML file. So for now, I have the HTML file, but I'm not sure if I can drag and drop this into the chat box directly. I don't think so. There are some places where you can host the app. Maybe that's something that we will look at currently. So there is a free service called Netlify. Please stop me if I'm doing something that uh, Aniket, can I answer the question at the end? So Netlify is essentially a service where you can host the files you make. We made the HTML file on Claude. We downloaded it. It's on my local folder. So I will upload the downloaded file to Netlify. So I hit deploy. And let me paste a link in the chat box. And if people can click that, can you see if this app opens for everybody on your own or on your own devices? If yes, you can put a thumbs up or say yes. If no, you can let me know if this is not opening. And I will,
I'm not
or
able to open it.
uh, what's happening, Arudra? What displays?
I'm not able to open up my chat section. So when the link pop-up came up, I clicked on it, but then nothing has happened. I'm on the same. What I see is the PPT slide.
Okay, that seems like a Zoom issue. I'm also going to share this uh, file on the Manthan group and maybe the TN academic group. People who have access to the Manthan group, and if there are other people from other groups, can just share the file. Uh, people who have received the file on WhatsApp, can you click on it and see what happens? And open it with Chrome. And let me know what happens. We can make each client a separate app, or we can make uh, one app that we send to multiple clients. These are our wishes at the end of the day. Cool. So we've made an app, and Dr. Mukesh, yes, AI can transcribe our voice, but it can't take its own history. Coming back to the app, so we sat down as a group, brainstormed an idea, let Claude code the app, made a HTML file, and now this file can be shared to my patient. Now, if the patient puts something in there, it's going to be stored only in their phone. If they use it on their browser, it's going to be stored only in their browser. It's not going to go to any cloud. Nobody has access to that unless the patient chooses to share it. Now, the idea of this workshop was not to build a perfect app. It was to say, hey, you can make your own idea into an app and you can share it with the world. Now, there are ways to monetize this. There are ways to make this into an Android app. There are ways to make it into an iOS app. But the world of apps is moving towards something called progressive web apps, which means apps that can be hosted on the internet but can be downloaded on your phone as well without the need for any external stores or payment. There are ways to monetize this. This is something that we can talk about once we have some functional apps. Now, any questions thus far? With what we've learned today, will people be able to make simple apps and share them? Yes, no? And people put their answers on the chat box. So yes, we can make uh, private notes, follow up, anything. The idea is the same. You have an app idea, you prompt it, you get a HTML file. You can use it in your own computer or put it online or share it with one person. So this workflow does not change for simple HTML apps. You guys want to build another app before we close for today? Do we have any more do you want to build an appointment app? What features would you like your appointment app to have? So we will build an appointment app uh, which can send out prescriptions, and let's just build the appointment app. But the caveat is, if you want to collect fees, you need to connect to another service which requires API, which we won't do. We can't do today. We can schedule. We can send reminder emails. Uh, so are people available? Can we make another app? Rajkumar sir, did you get any other ideas as we were doing this? Or Mohan Raj sir?
Because I got sidetracked with my granddaughter. I'm sorry.
Okay. Again, we can't send WhatsApp image. We can send WhatsApp reminders, but we need to connect to WhatsApp. So we'll do something simpler. Uh, there is someone whose name PG who says PMT app for behavioral disturbances in children. Can you try it out and share it with the group maybe later with the process that we spoke about? But we'll try to build an appointment app right now. I'm not sure if Claude has. So again, let's try it. Sometimes it's as simple as just putting in a couple of lines. This will give you a basis from which you can tweak. How would one tweak features of an app that has been created? Sharanya, the whole process of vibe coding is that you put in a prompt, you get the code, and you can keep working on it and talking to the AI model, and it will fine tune it for you. One personal, uh, what do I say, trick is that always start new chats. Once you get an output, copy the HTML, put it in another chat, and start off new. So I'm speaking about this like it's some great big deal, but the whole idea is this is very simple. You just log in, create an app for anything, and publish it or share it with anybody. So I think the appointment app that we were trying to do is being built. You can see the front end here. So if you want to save it in Google Sheets, you can, but again, depends on what you put on the prompt. For now, we're doing only local storage. So just like we did with the other DBT app, a simple appointment app is for now ready, but it will have minimal features and you guys can keep talking to it and build more complex apps. So I think for now, I will just summarize and pause, but I'm always available for questions. If you guys are building anything, I'm always there for you if you want any doubts later as well. But the idea of today's session is that, hey, as psychiatrists, we have expertise, and with AI, we have the ability to build and deploy apps quickly as well. And I hope that this session was simple enough for people to start experimenting and making their own stuff going forward. And I feel like I've answered most of the questions as in when they came up. So with storage and APIs and other features, you can add anything you want, but we're not going to discuss the pros and cons of it. But the idea for today is that anybody can make an app and anybody can deploy it, which means we can start using our creativity and expertise to create really useful things that benefit a lot of people. I think anybody who has more questions, I'm open to answering them. Like I said, post session, reach out to me. I can help you with these things as well. Uh, I'll stop there. Any questions? Or else, thank you very much to the organizers and to everybody who's stuck with us in the last few hours. Uh, Quite a heavy morning session for a Sunday, so I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day as well. And Prabhu, after you get, I'll share the prompt. After you get the HTML file, you can directly share the HTML file via email or WhatsApp, or you can host it. I showed you one space in a website called Netlify where you can quickly host the app. And that link that you get from Netlify, you can share it with anybody.
But after sharing with Neglify, that data will get stored in their device, right? We won't be able to get.
So Netlify is just hosting the HTML file, sir. So the data will be stored in the user's laptop or local storage. Netlify won't have access to the data that they put in.
Yeah, it will be in that whoever is using that the link, only that device will have.
Only that device will have, and that person will have to share it with you.
Okay.
I'm kind of against putting any kind of personalized data online, even on a cloud at this point in time, because it is quite risky. So the apps that I made and shared with my patients, they will have to export it as a PDF or a text file and send it to me. That is the only way I will get it. I think that adds a safeguarding layer.
Fine. Thank you.
This is not only about a patient-centered app. The same idea can be used to make anything that makes your life simpler, from an app that makes referrals easier to appointment booking to making your own website to uh, uh, creating a software package to run your research project. Anything can be done. And right now, it is only about speaking to AI in English, and there is no more expertise that you need. So if we can take that away and take that and experiment a little bit, I think we will be making apps fairly quickly.
Instead of typing, some of the users I've seen in the videos and in the live meetings, they use the audio instead of dictation, either Whisperflow or other softwares. They use that instead of typing. They say you're better at expressing things verbally than typing it. So it is easier when you're creating an app or doing any tasks. Your views on that?
No, it depends on what kind of what you are more comfortable with and what you're able to freely express with. For me, it's very difficult to organize ideas into speech, so it is better for me to type it out. It slows down the process. For other people, it's easier to speak it out. So the good thing is it's available there and anybody can do it. And we'll have to figure out what works for us. I want to hear from any of the people who had ideas to see if do they have more information now that they can try to make it into an app by themselves. And if yes, then I would consider this successful.
Can I ask a question? It's not about an app in a mobile for personal use. See, what I did was earlier I had paper files, patient records. So electronic medical records were all like many available, but they were all stored in the cloud of somebody else. So I didn't want to trust how much is the confidentiality. So I made my modified. It's not like I just modified Word into a template, but I still type in. There's nothing like choose these symptoms. So I even today type. So is there a way of creating something where I could have a thing where I can say these symptoms are there? Of electronic
Absolutely.
medical record, our own and stored locally and in my cloud.
Uh, the best way to do it, sir, like we discussed today, you can set up the features of the features you want, make that standalone HTML file, ask it to store locally, and also export PDF if you want. And whatever is stored locally, the local database, there will be a file. You can put that in your Google Drive so that it's automatically backed up to the cloud. So it is doable, and you can probably get something simple running within a couple of days, test it out for a couple of weeks, and start using it.
Can you link the HTML file database
Okay, that won't be
data
on
into
Word. It will be written on HTML, right?
So the data that you put
Sorry.
in the app will be saved as a comma separated value as a text file, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
No, can you use a
Sure. Thank you.
database connected to a Excel or a SQL file where it is saved as a database, like generally the EMR software does?
Definitely. So that only requires one additional step of learning how to integrate the database into your code. It's also very easy, but that's not something we covered today.
Fine, like because they say about the appointment and the electronic record at the level like Dr. Mohan was saying. So that's what I was thinking.
So in fact, Google has a service called Firebase. So this Firebase is very useful and it's easily integrated into our apps. So now if I'm going to make EHR, I'm because we're in India, I'm not sure of HIPAA violations if you use Firebase. Yeah. But Firebase is cloud based. So if I want a local database, there are ways to make local databases that I can back up in a hard disk and keep or something, but it's not that difficult. So Mohan Ratcharning, at any point you just when you have the time, if you can just open up Claude or Gemini or whatever that you paid for, I would suggest you pay for one of their services, Gemini, Claude, or ChatGPT, and just test it out. I am sure within a couple of weeks you will have something that is usable.
Yeah. Follow-up question. Once I do that, is there a way of converting all my Word templates and with the data? It's about 13, 14 years old, which is all
That
Word
is a
template
challenge.
where I have typed in the data.
It is possible, but because it's so many years of data, uh, and for reliability's sake, I would suggest we don't do it. We can leave that on the side and build a new system. If you want to integrate all that data, I think it becomes a little more
Okay.
complex. It is possible, sir, but I think the integrity of the
Yeah.
data is important. So it might take a little longer for us to test.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Charan, sir,
Yeah.
do we finish?
Yeah, if there are no more questions, I think so we can wind up. And I think so you, Dr. Vikas and Dr. Iniyan, two different areas, wonderful presentation in detail, in depth. It was fantastic. And It was nice. And as you said, heavy morning discussion.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
It's good to see that Dr. Prabhu already made one app and he's posted a link.
Yeah, I think
So
so. It
I
is more of a stimulation to make everyone start doing it. Probably then we'll have a more interactive discussion, which might have app development and alone for a half a day session. So that will be a fantastic thing. Probably 1 or 2 months down the lane. That will be good. More people, more ideas, more app. It's good. The psychiatrists developing apps for psychiatrists and their patients. That is a way to go. That is the idea of having these AI in mental health series.
I just want to end with one line. So if we are going to make something and give it to someone, remember we are responsible for it. So make sure you test, retest, make sure it works, make sure it is accurate before you put it out there. So that's just one thing I wanted to leave everybody else with. We are all responsible clinicians and we will use our responsibility responsibly. So thank you so much for everybody joining us. Jayantri ma'am, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dr.
Thank you.
Sadanand sir,
Doctor,
shall I?
yeah, closing comments, Dr. Arudra.
Sure.
And we'll.
Thank you to
Sir,
both of you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm not able to switch on my video. Just the host has to let me do it.
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not able to switch it on my video. It's just my audio. Thank you, Dr. Iniyan as well as Dr. Vikas, for logging in on a Sunday morning and sort of educating us on research methodology, as well as the more interactive section about how to build apps from an idea. I'm sure we all will come up with more stimulating ideas and try it on our own before we reach out to Dr. Vikas. And Dr. Vikas, thank you for logging in from UK at 6 a.m. in the morning and 7 a.m. And giving us this wonderful topic. I thank the speakers as well as TNIPS for organizing this session and all of us who are tuned in on a Sunday morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.